And good morning, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Cloud Chats. This is episode 17 on June 10th, 2021, titled WWDC Highlights, PyCharm, and a Terraform Milestone. I'm one of your hosts, Mason, and this is Chris and Matt and Kim, and I got it. And I remembered the countdown this week. That's why I kind of do these stretches, because I have to look at myself and see which way is the arm going. It's all a ruse. It's all a ruse. How's everyone doing this morning?
That was the smoothest intro we've had in quite a while.
Yeah, well, because I remember to hit the button.
It took 17.
Yeah. Hey. Awesome. Well, today's Hello World question is, what is your text editor IDE of choice? It sounds like we're going to be spicy right out of the gate. So let's start with Kim. Kim, what is your text editor IDE of choice?
I'm a Visual Studio Code person. The extensions and plugins are great. I don't do anything. I'm not like a power user of any IDEs. But I do try to use Vim occasionally, and I aspire to be a Vim person one day. So we'll see if that ever happens. I've been aspiring for like 5 years.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, Chris, what's your IDE choice?
Hey, Love Kesh in the chat. How do you too? This is appropriate. I didn't plan on using this shirt for today, but this is my shirt for the day.
If you're stuck in Vim, it's too late.
I don't know. I bounce around as often as I can. Notepad++ back in the day, Sublime Text, which big fan of. Sublime Text 4 came out. I need to jump back on. Vim for a little while, and right now VS Code. I think it is pretty good middle ground between all of the ones that I just named. I don't know if I consider myself a power user, but I'm trying.
Yeah.
What do you got, Matt?
So I don't know, keep the guest happy, right? Genuinely, I am actually a JetBrains user, through and through, have been since I've been in school. With the work I do, I jump around so much between different languages, and in completely different contexts, and so actually having an IDE per language is just so helpful to me. So I can just isolate different projects. I'm a JetBrains user. So I daily drive WebStorm. Most of my work nowadays is Node stuff. But I also use RubyMine, PyCharm, and DataGrip for a lot of database poking. So that's where I'm at.
And JetBrains is really good with their student pack, yeah?
Yeah. So that's how I got into it, actually. I was in school. I think I was first exposed to PyCharm's Community Edition, which is free. And then I went, I like this. Oh, they've got a student pack that lets me have all the IDEs for free. And haven't really turned back since.
My university got that pack, I think, a year after I graduated.
Darn.
So I never got the chance to learn that way. I think so. I started off as using. In high school, when I was programming in Java, I used a program called JCreator, which you have to go to the darkest parts of the internet to find that program anymore, because it's just not maintained. Once I got to college, I started using Nano, and everyone just gave me a lot of flack for using Nano, and they're like, learn Vim. So I eventually aliased Nano to Vim in my Bash RC to make myself learn Vim.
That's hilarious.
And then I did Vim for a while. I would consider myself, I used to be a Vim power user. I got into all the plugins and was working on my own themes and stuff. But then at my last job, I was just sitting there and I was like, I was going to learn a new language. I think I was going to start learning Go. And I was like, okay, new language, new me, let's try something new. And I went to VS Code, and I've really kind of never looked back. I've used JetBrains before. I think I was viciously assaulted by IntelliJ once, and it scarred me for life. But I do use PyCharm whenever I get really stuck in Python. I pull up VS Code because it's basically a glorified text editor with a terminal, and that's how I do most of my stuff. But if I get super stuck in Python and I need the debugging tools, I pull up JetBrains because I can use the JetBrains tools. I can use PyCharm like their Pro edition, and it's like I can dig in as deep as I want. I can find the issues. So I use it's kind of like PyCharm is kind of like the break glass in case of emergency kind of tool. I'm stuck in Python. I need to dig down deep. So yeah, but I've used a lot of them. Yeah, but we'll see. What do we have people in the chat? We've got
Lovekesh first of all. Some VS Code love. I think it's kind of one of the more popular ones here. Jose though, Apache NetBeans.
Oh, I haven't heard of that. That's a phrase I haven't heard in a while. Oh
yeah, I've not heard that in a long time either. Cool to see that being represented though.
I didn't know that was an actual text editor.
Very
cute name.
I forgot that existed. We were going to use it for Java I think I used that for Java I was supposed to. I didn't. Oh, Eclipse. Are we forgetting about Eclipse? Anybody here, you ever use Eclipse?
Mm-mm.
I opened it once with the idea of writing a Minecraft plugin. Opened it, poked around for about a minute, went, cool, no, Minecraft plugins aren't for me.
I did the same thing. I did the same with Android Studio. Different tech, but
yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay, I haven't thought about NetBeans in a long time. What else do we got?
An Adam in the chat.
Oh, yeah, we got more VS codes.
Yeah, lots of VS codes. Ryan, though, switching over from VS Code to Atom, which I think is pretty cool.
When I started coding, Atom was my text editor of choice, and I haven't checked it out for a few years, so I should look at it again.
I've never used it, so I guess I need to look into it.
Yeah.
When VS Code was getting up, there was like a really fun time in text editors where everyone was kind of like vying for that spot. There's VS Code, there's Atom, there's Brackets, there's one that I forget, but
Sublime probably comes into that as well, right?
Yeah, I think. Yeah.
I remember when VS Code was announced because it was a big deal. Like it was only going to support front-end development at the time, but at the time everyone was using actual pure full-baked Visual Studio. And
not a fun experience.
No, no, it's not. And I remember VS Code we're going to support JavaScript and HTML. At the time, I didn't do any of those, so I didn't get into it. But I remember when it was announced. I was in college.
I remember clicking around and going, "Wait, this is an Electron app? No way."
Back when Electron was new cool tech that no one quite understood.
Yeah, Matt would have been 4. So
and still coding.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so there's quite a few in chat. Last one, Nathan, also been using NetBeans, which is I don't know, really surprising to me. It's not an IDE I've heard about in a long time. So it's really cool to see it's still being used.
Yeah. That is a phrase. It's like that Obi-Wan Kenobi meme. I haven't heard that in a long time. Awesome. Well, thank you everyone for telling us what IDE you use. And today we have a very special guest who we're going to bring on right now, which is Nafiul. And
hey, everybody.
Yeah, hello. Nafiul, how are you doing?
Very well. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, definitely. So go ahead and just do a quick intro of yourself and we'll get started.
So hi, I'm Nafiul. I am the developer advocate for PyCharm at JetBrains. I've been a developer advocate for a little over a year. Before that, I was a solutions architect at Microsoft, and before that, I was a developer at a few other companies. So yeah, when I was 19, I wrote a book on PyCharm.
Wow.
Got published. Yeah, that opened up a lot of doors for me because I was in Bangladesh, and it's very difficult to kind of get any jobs in foreign companies when you're in Bangladesh, because everybody just thinks that you're just very cheap labor, and you don't get any of the good opportunities available to you. So I wanted to play the game a little bit differently. So I published a book, and that opened up a lot of opportunities for me to speaking, to jobs, just giving you that credibility.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Wow, awesome. Were you already a heavy PyCharm user when you decided to write the book, or did you just go, okay, I'm going to do a PyCharm book?
No, the thing is, I was already a heavy PyCharm user by then. I didn't know that there was a pro. Well, I couldn't afford the pro edition at the time, so I just used PyCharm Community. So when I wrote my book, it was all PyCharm Community stuff, very little pro stuff.
That's probably really useful.
I knew it quite well. Yeah. But I knew it quite well back then.
No,
So go ahead, Matt.
No, you go.
Okay, so you wrote a book when you were 19, but when
Mhm.
did you start writing code?
I think when I was 14. So an uncle of mine, he basically needed a person to install Windows at his company, and the
Mhm.
guy they hired to do that wasn't very good at it. So he just thought like, hey, my nephew knows how to do this. So let me get him in here. And so I started installing Windows, and back then, the banks they had a lot of code in Visual Basic.
Mm.
And so a lot of the times the problems that people were facing weren't really reinstallation of Windows. It was more to do with um, just the applications themselves weren't working. So they had this disk that they would reinstall over and over again, and that would kind of reset things and things would go back to normal. They didn't really understand that, it was the applications that were sort of changed and you needed to fix that a little bit. So that's when I got into development, and that was for a few years. And after that, I went to university, which wasn't great. But at the time, you had this explosion of online courses from edX, from Coursera, and all this other stuff. So I got into Python through that.
Mm. Oh, that's really interesting. Helping your uncle install Windows to Python to writing a book about PyCharm all before you're 20.
Yeah, I actually came to the Netherlands when I was 21. Yeah, just hit 21 then. It was really weird because I hadn't been outside of my country alone without my parents ever. So it was a it was a very maturing experience. You got to learn fast.
I bet.
So I'm interested. How you have the book? Did you self-publish?
No. So it was published with Pact.
Hmm.
So what I did during my university years, apart from bunking classes, is also spend a lot of time on Stack Overflow, where I met a lot of friends, got a few contracts here and there. But what happened as time went by is that I became top 1% for Python and for a couple of other Python related tags on Stack Overflow. And so Pact reached out to me and said, hey, we'd like you to write a book. And I was like, this might be a good idea. So I went ahead and did it.
That's amazing.
Yeah, right on.
We finally met someone who has an account on Stack Overflow. I think last week we
Oh
were
my.
checking to see if any of us had an account on Stack Overflow, and we all said, "Oh no, I'm just a reader."
I might have. If I have one, I don't have any memory of it. So
Yeah, kudos to you for answering questions. I would like go to answer a question, and then halfway through I'd be like, I already spent 10 minutes on this. I gotta go, and then I just bail out.
It was a really interesting community back then. So there's also this thing where you can find Stack Overflow chat. It's kind of like a hidden feature on Stack Overflow, but there are different language rooms and you can go join one. So I met a lot of people that were prominent in the Python community, like Steve Holden from Holden Web. I think Matt might have heard of him, but he was one of the very early people, Pythonistas in the UK. So you meet all these people and you get to learn from them. It's basically free advice from the OGs, right? And they were answering questions, and I essentially wanted to be like them because it was always about getting answers from Stack Overflow. And I thought, hey, maybe if I could answer some of these questions, I might actually be good at something.
I know. I really miss Stack Overflow chat. I think it's still there and it's like still active, but I'm not. I don't know. It feels like that time has passed. It was the in thing 10 years ago.
Yeah, it was really quite something a long, long time ago. But after a while, the community sort of died down, I guess.
Yeah, no, I learned some good stuff in there as well. Good times.
Absolutely.
great. Well, so I've talked with you a lot about PyCharm and such, and I know there's a lot of interesting features to it. But what is your favorite feature in PyCharm? If you had to pick one feature that you would say is your favorite, do you have one?
Yeah, I'd say it's the Alt Enter feature where there's a problem and PyCharm will say you probably want this, and you hit Alt Enter and it just magically fixes itself.
That's nice.
Can I
Yeah,
do that
I
on a
mean-
blank piece of paper or a blank? Starts writing
Just
my
generate
code.
code. I mean, interestingly enough, if you do that and it's wrongly spaced, like you have different space characters in there, it will fix that.
Wow.
Wow.
And this is a problem with Python because like what happens is sometimes people work on different platforms and you have some different kinds of spaces and different kinds of tabs and different kinds of line endings and whatnot, and it can be very difficult to see them when they're basically just white space.
That is really cool. I wonder if you could just start typing a Python program and then just Alt Enter a whole program. Is that a little Easter egg? If you just go to a blank thing and just hit Alt Enter a whole bunch of times, will it just write a Python program for you?
You know something? I don't know if it does, but that's definitely a good idea. We should definitely have that Easter egg.
Yeah, just hook into GPT-3 and just go wild.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That would be that's at that point that like I would love it for if you just did that and it just printed out a statement and it says, "Why do I need you?"
Singularity.
Yeah. Let's I wonder how many interesting tickets you would get if that was there.
We got a lot of tickets on all of it. People are very out for blood for a lot of these issues. Got to be honest.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Well, we've heard of your favorite feature in PyCharm. What do you think is probably the most underrated or most unknown feature to PyCharm that you would want to talk about?
I think, there's PyCharm Community and there's PyCharm Pro. I think in the PyCharm Pro version of things, people don't really know about the database features. And essentially, you have a full suite of database tools available to you. You can interface with pretty much any kind of data source, whether that's Postgres, MySQL, MongoDB. I'm probably missing a few. There's Hadoop. There's stuff that I don't use, but essentially, it's got a full suite of database tools that are available to you. And people don't really use it all that much. Maybe it's because it's hidden on a side tab somewhere, and people are like, well, I already get Python code completion, works with Django. Probably that's all I need. I don't need any more. Yeah, that's definitely one feature that I don't think people use enough. I think in community, what is there in community? I think in general in community people use most features pretty well in terms of quick fixes, in terms of just getting reformats using the console. Yeah, I think people use it quite well.
Yeah, no, database tools blew my mind. It's just
I didn't
so
know
powerful.
they existed either for a while.
I've never used PyCharm. If I wanted to explore, try it out, where would I go? What would I look for?
You can just go to our website and download it. But let's see. Yeah, you can just search PyCharm in Google, and it will get you to our homepage, and you can download it right from there. There are two versions. There's community, and then there's professional. So if you work with Django or Flask or any web dev related stuff, and you'd like JavaScript code completion, front end framework support, you'd use that, the professional version. But if you just use for regular Python, you just use the community version.
Okay, great. So professional for using frameworks like Flask and Django, and then community to get started or with more straightforward Python.
Absolutely, yeah.
Great.
So I'm going to lead the witness a little bit because I know this is a feature that he and I have discussed multiple times. Can I build my React apps in PyCharm?
Yeah, absolutely.
I know that you've always been like we and I have talked about it. It's like you can do all of your front end stuff in PyCharm as well as and you always talk about people going to other IDs. Like, no, you can build React apps in PyCharm and just integrate them with
Node apps. You can build Node apps in PyCharm.
You can.
Yeah, you can.
So what's the big benefit of switching over to like away from PyCharm for the JavaScript stuff? Like,
In terms of JavaScript,
is autocomplete better, or
I think autocomplete is better. You get a lot more quick fixes. So if you're doing something really wrong with your promises or whatnot, you PyCharm will tell you this part of the code is probably not reachable. So there are quite a few benefits. There's also more fine-grained code completion. So you can determine which libraries you want code completion for in a particular file, because sometimes the imports are not always clear, and you might want a particular code completion that's available, that's not explicitly imported but implicitly imported, that you want code completion for. So that's also there. Just wider range of support for everything like TypeScript. We even have support for CoffeeScript if people still use that. And a whole host of other things, Webpack support, npm build support, like pretty much anything that you need to build real production stuff, it's there.
Fantastic.
This is what
It's
I mean
so
when
cool.
like, and I talk about the fact that like it's an IDE, not a text editor.
Yes, it actually has features and stuff, not just pretty icons and color code like my VS Code setup does.
Yeah, I don't know. That's the way I like to explain it to people nowadays. Is just VS Code is a text editor, glorified, but a text editor. The JetBrains suite, they're IDEs.
Yes, I would definitely say that too.
And the thing is, I was talking to this with a friend of mine, Andrew Brookins, who writes very good Django books. Go check him out if you ever get the chance. But he was actually saying, so he once got this Ruby job and he didn't really know Ruby very well. So he got RubyMine, and what RubyMine was able to do for him is kind of translate a lot of the features and a lot of the ways in which you should build software from the Python world, translated them into the Ruby world, because they're kind of similar in terms of feature set, in terms of boilerplate reduction, quick fixes, code generation, things like that. So he was able to get up and running quickly and just understand what is good and what is terrible in a pretty easy way.
Maybe it's time I changed over to PyCharm. Who knows?
I don't know. I can attest to that, right? Like, for example, DigitalOcean's community website is a Ruby app. I had never touched Ruby until I started working here. RubyMine saved me. It taught me how to write Ruby properly. So yeah, I can agree with that one.
So it sounds like that's a benefit of an IDE, is that you get some insight into language design and maybe like comparing a prior language that you know to this one that you're learning, as opposed to just a text editor.
I mean, absolutely. And what's interesting is when I was learning Java all the way back in university, so we had Eclipse, we had IntelliJ, we had JCreator, we had NetBeans, we had all these things, right? And I tried out IntelliJ Community, and it worked out really well for me. And I got used to a lot of things. I got used to having getters and setters generated. I got used to being able to debug things whenever, however I wanted. I got used to all this stuff. So when I started doing these edX courses, and I started just trying to work with Python and trying to understand it, I was like, so where can I put, how do I debug this? And back then you had PDB and you had to go into the console and do all this other stuff, but I was already used to a visual form of debugging. So I was like, no, listen, all I want is to click over here and I can breakpoint there, and that's what I want. So you don't really know a lot of the times what you're missing. And in a dynamic language like Python, code completion is more difficult. Because you need, like, the IDE needs to understand what type it is and what type it's going to get after you invoke a certain method. And that wasn't always there in Notepad++ or in Sublime Text and whatnot.
Ah, so cool. I was victimized by IntelliJ. But I also believe it was I think it was the environment in which I worked in, because that I don't know. I've seen city dumps that looked better than that environment. So I'm sure IntelliJ did its best, but if you have Java environments themselves are complicated, then you have people that didn't know how to set up a Java environment, and that's what it was. And then we're like, IntelliJ fixed this, and IntelliJ was like, I'm trying my best, but I can only do so much. If I never had to write Java again, I think I'd be a happy person.
Well, that's me. I don't have to write Java.
Yeah, no. Well, I saw Python, and like I was like seeing the light, and I was like, I'm done, not going back. If you want polymorphism, then you go write an object-oriented language. I'm not doing it here. Awesome. Well, thank you, Nafiul, for joining us today. It's been really fun. We're gonna end with just, I don't know, we're trying to come up with quite random questions that we always end with. So we're going to try this one today. And if it doesn't work, we'll try another one. So what was your first programming language? And then what is the next programming language you want to learn? So what was the first? And then what's the one you want to learn next?
My very first one was Visual Basic.
Okay.
The one I want to learn next in a decent fashion is Rust.
Ah, yes. It's on my list. It's coming up really fast in the space. Rust and Golang are on the top of my list.
Yeah, Rust is going to become really important, especially if IoT blows up even bigger, right? So you need a language that can be very efficient on very small devices.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you very much for joining us. We hope to have you back. Thanks everyone for listening to Nafiul. And we're going to go ahead and move on to our next segment. Bye, Nafiul.
Bye.
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 Yay. Okay, now I'm going to remove people and try to get...
us.
I'm going to try. Okay, so I think I have to remove Chris and then I add Chris. And it solved it right there.
Very good.
Good. That was the least amount of steps. So, and now we're going into the news. This is the segment where we talk about the latest news in tech that has gathered our attention. There's lots of interesting things this week, but we'll see if I know about any of them, because my co-hosts have this bad habit of adding them right before the show, and then I have to guess. It's a fun game we play. Whenever you hear this sound, it means we're moving on to the next one. Our first one comes out of keeping ships from crashing into rocks, which is the Lighthouse 8.0 reveal. So Lighthouse 8.0 has improved its cumulative layout shift metrics as well as overall performance speed. So I guess this is Google's performance tool, and they've improved the performance of it, which is kind of funny.
Well, they've improved how they measure performance.
Okay, what did they change?
I don't know. Like I don't know the exact internals of like how they measure this stuff. Yes, in the latest version of Chrome, Lighthouse 8 is shipped, I think. They've changed how they're measuring and kind of weighting cumulative layout shift, which is one of the main metrics they use nowadays, including in page score itself. So it's kind of like how much does your content move about on the screen as the page loads. They've also like reweighted the performance category in general. And I think the other really cool feature that I don't know if we're going to demo it or not, but it was in the release notes. There's now a feature called Tree Map, which lets you explore JavaScript source maps. And you can kind of like, historically, Lighthouse has always complained about like 20% of your JavaScript is not being used or whatever. Supposedly, Tree Map, if you have source maps enabled, will now let you like explore which bits of your code aren't being used, which is really cool.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I used to have to like manually do it and do like a Webpack Explorer sort of setup, but this is way cooler.
So yeah, this is shipped in the latest version of Chrome. Page Speed Insights has it already as well, I think. If you go to like web.dev and use that to test your site, it has Lighthouse 8. So yeah, it's rolling out.
Cool. I'm just watching Chris play around with it.
Yeah, Lighthouse is super important for just optimizing your websites and making sure, especially with Google now saying like these metrics help inform how they rank in SEO. Definitely something.
I think off the top of my head, it's like a subset of performance stuff. So like the ones that have got the blue tag here are what they now are starting to use as a weight in page score.
I like that they're moving away like towards more metrics that say like, is a user like a real world person going to be happy with this website? And that's how they rank, right?
Yes. Yeah. And so it's also important to note that the way they do it is mobile first now. So I think if you scroll right to the bottom of this page, it should say what device they ran it on. Yeah.
It might be in a click in somewhere.
Down a bit more.
Oh, it gets to the footer.
There. All tests are run using a simulated mobile device on a fast 3G network and a 4x CPU slowdown.
Ew, 3G? Are we?
4x.
What is this 3G? Are we in? Is this like 1994?
I think that's the same simulated device that they actually use for doing the page score itself for Google. So, like, it will differ from what you do if you just run Lighthouse locally. So it's important to actually test it with those settings.
Yeah, and that's a good move because, like, I don't know, 3G is interesting, but it still powers what? I think last time I checked, like 80% of devices are 3G.
It wouldn't
Really?
surprise me.
Yeah, something gigantic.
Yeah, probably globally.
Yeah. Potato internet. We have nothing but potato internet.
Ryan Olson in chat. They get 3G.
Yeah.
I mean, I live in rural. It's interesting. Okay, I guess maybe I don't know. I live in rural areas. I go to the most like ruralist of areas in Texas. Like whenever I leave work, you would be hard pressed to find me. And we at least have 4G. I was actually surprised. I was out in my favorite camping spot this past weekend, and I've gone years with zero service. And this year there's 4G LTE. So I was like, wow, okay. So, but yeah, world's getting progressively better at it. But hopefully we get to the point where everyone has decent broadband.
Yeah, I don't know. Like sometimes people get angry at like how Google ranks these and weights them, and there was some kind of harsh comments on this change with the reweighting, and people going like, "Oh, my scores dropped without me changing anything." I think you missed the point if that's your issue with this. Like all Lighthouse does is give you suggestions on how to make your site better for the end user.
Yeah,
and end user is going to see his performance issue.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
You're faster for slow devices. You're fast for fast devices, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And Lovekesh in chat, we just checked out your website, codebulbs.com. Great job on your Lighthouse audit.
Dang,
Not
yeah.
quite 100 all over though.
And also, great job on your website as well. Beautiful.
Oh, yeah, it looks great.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
Chris, what's in the performance? What's causing it to not be 100?
Let's check.
Initial server response time was short.
Short.
What?
Wouldn't that mean was is short?
It responded too quickly. It's like, no, server, you don't get to be high performing. You have to be slow.
I don't know.
I love how they go stack specific and they call out Drupal first. It looks like I feel like they ranked that wrong. You should have like 110 on performance.
Yeah, that's weird. It seems like it's almost a
Let's
bug.
read into that some more.
Our next story comes out of
great job.
Pretty Graphs.
Pretty graphs.
I have to keep us moving or we'll sit here on news forever. Grafana version 8.0 release. I do know that this past week was GrafanaCon, I believe, right?
Yep, that's right.
So at the conference, they announced the release of Grafana 8.0, which probably brings in a whole plethora of new features.
Yeah, it looks like some new data visualization types.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. New alerts. Complete new alert system. Lots more pretty graphs. Real-time
streaming.
Yeah. I don't know. It feels weird to say, but almost just the standard stuff you'd expect in a Grafana release.
Yeah. And what does it say about performance? Many performance improvements. Good.
It's faster.
Okay, good. Fast equal good.
Let's see. Initial download size dropped by 40%, which is
wow.
good.
Ooh,
That's pretty big, yeah.
Good release.
Yeah, good release. The next, is that it? Hey, next story comes out of the land of terraforming Mars, but not necessarily Mars. So Terraform has released version 1.0. For those of you that have been using Terraform as long, I think its initial release was 2014. I started using it in 2016. Like, we've been dreaming about this day. We're finally at a 1.0 Terraform release. Congratulations to HashiCorp. And they did it. They released it right, because I have a very big opinion when it comes to releasing software that goes into a new major version. And there was no changes between 0.15.5 and 1.0. It's literally a number change, so that way it breaks nothing. And that's how you do it. Take note, everybody.
So there's no new features.
No new features in 1.0. No, 15.5 was like the last one, and this is just to maintain and ensure compatibility. I was trying to combine those two words. It didn't work. And I think a lot of people just learned from the Python 2.3 fiasco when it comes to this. So
yes.
I actually love that in like my software engineering book in college, the Python 3 was in the book on how not to release software.
So like the page we're looking at is the V1 release, and it's just a compatibility promise because there are no new features. It's just them talking about what they plan to do with Terraform going down the road.
And it's really exciting. I know that they're talking about a 1.1 release later this year with some new features, but I've been a long time Terraform fan. If you've watched any of my tech talks, I give a lot of tech talks on Terraform. So it was an exciting day. Congrats to the people at HashiCorp. You know, it's well-earned day. I love their tools. I could talk about them for hours. So our next story comes out of Paying the Taxman, which just sounds fun, right? Yeah. So last week we showed you Stripe links, which allows you to simply just send someone a link and get money, which that sounds like a great thing. I'm just going to spam all of my followers. Money, please. But now Stripe Tax.
Wait, the link's not.
Is it not?
No.
There it is.
Yeah, it is. I can click on it.
Which one?
The one that says Stripe Tax. It's in the doc.
Are you in the right doc? I don't even see you in this doc.
I mean, I just pulled up the last three.
I did see that.
I'll just Google.
Okay. Who knows? Technical difficulties with Google Docs. Yeah, he's just in a different doc somewhere, but apparently there's a duplicate. So, so now last week we talked about Stripe links, where you can just send a link to someone and get money from them for a service. But now Stripe will also automatically figure out your taxes based on location, which who doesn't love paying taxes?
Is this bad too? Yes.
Yeah.
I guess it's a great feature. It's a good thing. I was okay with just not paying the taxes, but no one ever asks me. So I'm also
advice.
Not financial advice. This is not financial advice. Always pay your taxes. Don't listen to Mason.
Yeah, no, I think it's really cool. International tax is always like one of the most complicated bits of payments. So the fact that Stripe's kind of just as a service will do it for you, really neat feature.
Is Stripe doing that thing that Cloudflare did, where they're just like, is this like the Stripe Summer of Code or the Stripe Week of Code, or because they're just dropping like great products every other week now? I remember when Cloudflare did that, they were just dropping new things. So are we in that kind of thing right now?
I haven't heard anything to say that they are, but maybe they are just like without announcing that that's what's happening, just dropping features on us.
Awesome. Well, Stripe just gets cooler and cooler every day. If only I had something to sell. And our last story is I guess conglomerate, that's the word I was looking for, of all things dealing with Apple. WWDC, which is the Worldwide Developer Conference, happened this past week. I think this was like the 31st or 34th. I don't remember. Wow. Annual conference. Apple's been dealing with developers for a long time, and they've added a lot of new features. First one talking about is how they called VPN not VPN and are selling it now.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, if you ask Apple, it's not a VPN. It's a proxy. It's a double proxy, in fact.
Okay.
The whole idea is it goes like through your request goes through like 2 jumps, I think it is. So that the end site has no idea where it's come from.
Okay, that's really interesting. So it's not a VPN, but it's a VPN.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. I'm glad we're all there. You know.
It's a VPN,
So-
not a VPN.
And then how, like, did they say how this is used? Is this like literally a toggle of a switch on the new iOS operating systems?
I think so. I haven't yet. I've been meaning to download the developer beta, but I haven't yet. But if you have an any existing iCloud subscription, that's now called iCloud Plus, and you get this for free with it. I imagine it's just going to be a toggle that you can start using.
I really like that. I honestly, Apple has turned into a SaaS, a security as a service company. And honestly, we'll go over this in what's on your mind. They're drawing me in. Like they're gonna get me. Then I'm gonna be even more in debt to Apple for being able to afford their things. The next part that was, and I think it might be the same article, is now there is mail privacy settings, which is pretty interesting. Which now, currently there are certain invisible pixels within like mail stuff to tell like when you've opened and done a whole bunch of stuff inside of the mail. But now the mail privacy features are going to block these. So it's going to block a lot of third-party trackers from being able to tell that, yes, you have indeed opened that email and received that email. So that's pretty interesting.
Yeah,
I like it.
I think there's a second feature as well. I think called Hide My Email. You can generate unlimited burner emails from iCloud.
Ooh,
so you sign up on a
interesting.
site, it'll just let you
That's
generate
cool.
one.
This is hilarious. Wait, so okay, so they're supporting wildcard email now.
Yeah.
Because I had super secure friends that used to do that. That would like, if they were going to give their account to DigitalOcean, it would be digitalocean.masonegger.com. Or DigitalOcean@masonegger.com. They would create a specific email for it, and that way, if they ever got spam emails from on that email, they knew exactly who sold it.
Oh, I do that.
Yeah. I feel like Apple's already been doing it with their like login with Apple, and they have the share my email versus don't share my email. I think now they're just probably giving you access to name the email.
I think it's randomly generated off the top of my head, rather than it being something you control. So it's just a completely random string of characters at iCloud.com, and they'll route that to you. But yeah,
Interesting.
lots of really cool kind of privacy-oriented, security-oriented features.
Oh, Ryan says no, not wildcard. They're making it clear it isn't wildcard, and it's random. So it's like VPN, but not VPN. It's wildcard, but not wildcard. Let's be honest. So.
Yeah, it's like
it's close enough. It's not actually true wildcard email, but
yeah, there's a lot of burner email services out there, and it's kind of just that similar thing, but Apple.
Yeah. The next highlight is the Swift Playground, which this looks actually really cool. You can now build iPad OS apps from your iPad using the Swift Playground.
Yeah, you can do.
And go ahead.
Go, Mason. You
Ah.
finish your sentence.
Well,
I think this is great.
There you go, Chris will do it. No, I saw on Hacker News that someone created iOS 4 in this.
Yes,
they would-
I think that was created in this, or at least with Swift UI.
Oh yeah, someone's recreated iOS 4 in Swift UI, which that alone talks about the power of the actual, of the playground.
Yeah, but like you can now build an app from start to finish on an iPad, including
And
shipping it.
deploy.
Oh wow.
I like
Yeah.
they're winning. They're gonna get me. And it all seems like they have now released FaceTime for Android and Windows via the web.
Ooh.
Seems like
Snake
a
and-
Zoom almost.
Yeah, FaceTime with people who don't have Apple devices.
Yes, it's Zoom with another name.
Long time coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They also had that share play feed. Like if you're FaceTiming to someone and you just go into like a YouTube app and press play, it'll show everybody the same video.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
That is cool. You can watch movies together, people you aren't in the same room with.
All this new technology is just I don't know. I was sitting back the other day thinking about because I went camping this past weekend and I intentionally leave my electronic devices like locked up so I don't, because I want to get away from all of it. And then I'm just sitting there and I grew up without the internet. I'm still old enough to say that. And I don't know. This just blows my mind every year. And I think that I want to be the first person that creates the horror game where you're dropped, where it's like you're dropped in the middle of a city and you have to escape and you've got to collect quarters to find the payphone. Like I swear, like all we have to do to make a horror game now is just remove all of the modern tech, and it would probably freak out a whole bunch of people.
Oh, yeah, I wouldn't be able to get around without Maps app.
If you make it in VR, it sounds like just a giant escape room.
Oh yeah.
That would be fun. That would be fun. Awesome. Well, I think that's all we have for the news today. So we're going to go ahead and move on to true or false. If you're playing along now, we've made the game even better because you should be able to see the questions on your phone in real time once you've joined, so you don't have to wait for the stream delay to see the question. So we used to say, hey, go to YouTube because it is the quickest, and it still technically is. I think the stream delay is the least on YouTube. But if you want to play along, you'll be able to see the questions on your phone and actually give Matt and Chris a run for their money. So, and Kim. I don't remember how Kim does it. Matt does, like, Matt's always getting them right, so it makes me wonder if I need to change the permissions on my Google Docs and my home drive.
That's more Matt. I don't really break top 5.
I don't know how I do it either, really, because I'm most of the time just making it up.
Yeah. So if you go to kahoot.it and you enter in the code 1774526, you will be allowed in and you'll get to play the game. And as you can see, we've even turned on the fun name maker, which I think is funny. We're learning every week about our tools. And while we're doing this, while we're waiting for everyone to join in, well, I guess again, backtrack. If you win, you get a Sammy sticker pack. You will send me an email. I will mail you some stickers. So there is an incentive for everyone here to join in and get some stickers. So, but while we're waiting, we have a new segment this week run by our very own Kim, and I'm going to let Kim take it away.
Beautiful. All right. Well, we're going to try a new segment to give people time to sign on to Kahoot, and it's called Word of the Week. And we'll come with a tech term or an acronym and unpack it just a little bit. And I picked the term blob. Chris, Matt, or Mason, do any of you know what that stands for off the top of your head?
No, I've heard it used my entire career, and I think I just kind of pretend at this point.
Cool. That's what I was doing until I looked this word up. So blob stands for binary large object, and it's a data type, and it's binary data that's stored as a single entity. And it's typically used to store like images, audio, or other large multimedia objects. So that is what a blob is. Anyone think of an example of when you've like used that data type?
I've always heard blob used like whenever like if we like, I guess like whenever we tar up a whole bunch of stuff, like if I have to tar up the entire log directory, it's like send me the blob of the log files or something like that. Or a tar ball or a tar blob I've heard before.
Nice.
So yeah. maybe in compression.
Yeah, I think so. Just like when you're sending a lot of data. I came across it when I was studying the Kubernetes API, and like some of the data gets sent to the API in a JSON blob. So I was like, what is a blob? Also, blob's a great word. It's fun to say. Kind of a silly thing to say with like a serious data type. But Matt, tell us what you know about blobs.
Just, in the web world, I guess kind of the place you encounter them quite often is like if you're writing an application that downloads stuff to the user's client, you quite often will just tell the browser to navigate to a blob of the content, and the browser knows to download that. But equally, you can use blobs just like to render like images just directly in a page. You could, instead of having a link to an image, you just put a blob of the image and it'll work. Or like video or streams, quite often use blobs as well.
Oh, awesome. Great examples. Thank you. So blob, binary large object for storing and using binary data, like lots of it. So that's it for Word of the Week.
That was great.
Awesome. Thanks, Kim.
Yeah.
Now I know what a blob is, and I don't have to keep saying the amount of words that I go around just saying that I have like had like, passing contact with where I think I'm using it right, but don't really know. There's a lot of them.
An essential skill in the tech industry.
It really is. We lost a person. I thought we were going to gain one more. Okay, we're going to give it another 20 seconds. If you want to win some stickers, I guess maybe I should give it a bit longer for stream delay. If you want to win some stickers, join in the next 30 seconds. We'll give it another 30.
Yeah.
And then we're going to start the game. So, I mean, who doesn't want stickers?
What's the theme?
The theme. Ah, yes, the theme. The theme this week is, if I can find my notes, data structures and programming concepts.
Ooh.
I couldn't figure out what to do, so I grabbed Cracking the Coding interview from behind me, and that's how I wrote it last night. So it's all going to be knowledge-based questions, and it's about data structures and a couple of other things. And these are questions that you could typically see in an interview, so it would be some good interview questions and some good interview practice. So we're going to give it 5 more seconds. Do we have any more takers? Also, if you join in late, you can still join in late. Like you may, who knows? Matt might bomb it and get 0, and you could still win. We never know. How does this work?
So if I do bomb it, I really hope that my uni professors are not watching.
Yes,
that'd be very awkward.
Surprise, Matt! I've been in contact with him. This is your final exam, and here we go. So our first question: true or false? Data structures edition. And these should be appearing on your screen. Let me know. Like, I want to actually like see if that's working this week.
Yes, they are.
Yes. In a stack, the first element inserted is the first to be removed. Is this true or is this false? The first element inserted into a stack is the first to be removed. This is false. That would actually be a queue where the first inserted is the first to be removed. Always think of it as a stack of plates. If you stack up a whole bunch of plates and you try to remove the first one you laid down, stack's going to topple over. You're going to have mess. So if in a queue, the first element is the first one to be in, is the first. You know what I mean? First in, first out.
Yes.
Fabulous Bison. I also love that I don't know who is who right now. So I have to deal with these amazing names. Next question. When 2 different elements have the same index within a hash table, this is known as a conflict. When 2 different elements of the same index within a hash table, this is known as a conflict. Is this true or is this false? This is false. It is known as a collision.
Ooh.
A hash table collision is whenever they have the same hash value, and then the hashing algorithm has to do something to add the index in and avoid the collision. There's a really great Python talk that I watched once about someone basically found a way to make every single insert into a hash table collide with every single other element, and it. I think it was once focused on the Tumblr. There used to be a Tumblr thing known as Accidentally Quadratic, and it was one of my favorite blogs. So Magic Elk pulling into the lead. True or false? Linked list is a data structure that represents a sequence of nodes where each node references another node in the list. So linked list is a data structure that represents a sequence of nodes where each node references another node in the list. Is this true or is this false?
Interesting. This is one of the data structures that like my brain struggled to really understand for a while. I don't know. I could never figure out why I struggled with it once I realized how it worked.
Yes, same. I struggled with linked list for a while too. I struggle with pointers, and I still struggle with pointers. But because I did my linked list in C++, so we had to do pointer stuff. But this is true. A linked list is a data structure that represents a sequence of nodes where each node references another node in the list. And I didn't put the caveat except for the last node, which will point to null.
Mm-hmm.
But apparently there's a text line limit in Kahoot. So true or false? In a depth-first search, you start at the root and explore each neighbor before going to any of his children. In a depth-first search, you start at the root and explore each neighbor before going to any of the children. Is this true or is this false? This is false. This starting at the root and going to each neighbor before any children is the breadth first search, where you are going at the breadth first. A depth first search is where you would go down all the way to the children and then back up, and you would go as a depth first, not a breadth first. I used to really enjoy these kinds of questions when I was in college, and now that I have to interview on them, I loathe them. But I actually had a good time with this. So. In a binary tree, each node can have at most 2 children. In a binary tree, each node can have at most 2 children.
I appreciate the image you picked, Mason. 2 trees.
It's a binary tree. So you would not believe how bad stock images are at Computer Science Abstract Concepts.
I bet.
This is true. Hence the binary, because it can only have 2 children.
Yep.
So yes, that was a true one. Magic elk is on fire, bronze gecko, but the golden snail, focused raven, and nimble I can't say that word, but I love it. We're doing good. Here we go. Next question. The big O analysis of a binary search is O log of n.
Huh.
Yeah, welcome to my realm. The big O analysis of a binary search is O logarithmic n. Don't worry, I vomited a little in my mouth when I wrote this question. I would have an A in data structures in college if I had not had to do big O analysis. I'm so bad at it. This is true. The binary search, the big O analysis of a binary search is O logarithmic n because it halves the data set every single time, which is a logarithmic progression. I'm sorry if I make you quit, Ryan. I'm sorry. The next ones aren't as bad.
I miss the what do you call a group of animals?
I'll do
the quiz.
Okay. Sorry that I'm making everybody upset today. I'll do something fun next week. True or false, in the bitwise operation XOR, only true XOR true will return true. It's also known as exclusive OR. In the bitwise operation exclusive OR, only true exclusive OR true returns true.
So Ryan's comment just made me really laugh.
There's a fire truck. Would you get it right, Ryan? That's the question I have.
Are fire trucks the same color in every country?
No,
they are not. This is false. Exclusive OR means one or the other, but not both. So true XOR true and false XOR false are false, whereas a true XOR false or false XOR true are true. Wow, that hurt my brain. Ow. Okay, because I was like, I don't want to say or here, but it's like it's the next Okay, that was bad. I didn't like it. But we're moving on. I promise the next one is just as mean. I'm sorry. Be mad at me. I don't care. The term mutex stands for mutual execution and signifies a segment of code that is safe to run in parallel.
Ooh, what a good picture. Someone's spinning plates.
I'm glad that people are appreciating my pictures. But true or false, the term mutex stands for mutual execution, and it signifies a segment of code that is safe to run in parallel. Is this true? Is this false? I don't even think I hit the button for the sounds. This is false. Okay. Mutex stands for mutual exclusion, and it is actually the segment of code that must be run in a singular context. It cannot be run in parallel because it's probably this part of the code that's making a change to updating a count variable. And if multiple people did that, then you run into like the read, write situations. And there's a lot of that. Parallel processing, I had an amazing professor for it. I learned so much.
This is why JavaScript's great, because you can't parallelize things truly.
Yeah, Python, global interpreter lock. It's like, you don't know what you're doing. You just don't get it. Second to last question. The situation where 2 threads are waiting on the other to release a lock is a deadlock. It's called a deadlock. So the situation where thread A is waiting on thread B and thread B is waiting on thread A, is this called a deadlock?
That's like when we talk over each other in this live stream, and then Matt has to go, no, you. I go, oh, no, you.
It's hard, and virtual's hard.
Oh, yeah.
This is true. Yay, everyone got it. Yes, this is called a deadlock.
Perfect score.
Perfect score. I love it. This is called a deadlock, so I don't even have to explain it. Great. Next question. And I'm sorry for the last question. This is what happens. Overriding occurs when two or more methods in one class have the same method name but different parameters. Oh,
Spider-Man's pointing.
Please, I would like a reward for this. I felt this was the
Good.
perfect name.
I agree.
Overriding occurs when two or more methods in one class have the same method name but different parameters.
Can you make a class where you teach everything in stock photos?
Oh, I love it.
I actually probably could, and I would actually maybe I should. Maybe I should teach meme programming. This is false. That is known as method overloading. Method overloading occurs when two or more methods in one class have the same method name but different parameters. For example, if I have a method called sum and one of them takes 2 integers and the other one takes 3 integers, those can be named the same thing because they have different implementations because of the parameter list. Method overriding is when two methods have the same method signature. This occurs a lot in inheritance, and it's how a child class overrides a parent class. So if they have a class that says say name, and the name says, like, maybe you have an animal class and it says say name and it says animal, and then the duck class implements it, same exact thing, and says same name. When you call same name on the duck class, it'll say quack. So that is what method overriding is.
Thank you.
So
thank you, Professor Egger.
I used to have to Bright Boa 8 out of 10. I used to have to teach AP Computer Science, and I love teaching AP Computer Science. It's one of my favorite things to teach. Bronze Gecko got 9 out of 10, but you weren't fast enough because Magic Elk wins. So who's Magic Elk?
Yeah, who are these people?
Is it anybody here?
Not me.
Not me.
Chris? Okay,
No.
Magic Elk, you win. So are any of y'all in the top 3 this time? Oh,
No.
so when they can actually see it on their phone, they're
Oh yeah, we're in trouble.
So all your winning streaks have been because you've had the stream advantage. This is gonna be great. Luis, great, awesome.
Woo!
So
So Luis, congratulations for winning. Please email mason@digitalocean.com. Mason@digitalocean.com. Yay. With your address, with your mailing address. I'm typing at the same time. I can do both, I promise. And I'll send you some stickers. Send. And I think I used the wrong. Yeah, I used double quotes instead of single quotes. That's fine.
nice.
Yeah, but this one was fun,
That was
and I'm
great.
glad that y'all are finally getting some contenders. So come back next week for another episode of True or False. And now we move into our lightning tutorial. And this time it is Chris who will be giving us a tutorial from his latest tech talk on Prisma and Postgres. So Chris, take it away.
All right. Hello. Let's open up. Okay. So Prisma is a really fun tool that has been around for a minute, and they've been like changing up what they do for a while. But recently they just hit 1.0 and they released a bunch of stuff, which essentially is an ORM, or an object relational mapper, which means it gives us a really easy way to connect our applications, particularly Node and JavaScript, to a database. So I just want to show off a couple fun things about why Prisma is really cool and why I'm excited about Prisma for using it with 1, Node apps, and 2, in serverless functions. If you ever needed like a database in a serverless function, Prisma is a good way to do it. So here in DigitalOcean, I have a database, a Prisma database here. I called it Prisma Fun. And here, once you create a database on DigitalOcean, you get this nice interface to get your connection parameters. And here's DOadmin. Here's our password for username password. So I'm going to move this over, security through multiple monitors. And I'm going to grab my password, copy that. And then here is a new, well, let me zoom out now. So what I'm going to do here is go into my environment variable, and I'm going to paste that in security through monitors real quick. Okay. So we have basically a setup for, here is our entire Node application, and here is our server.ts, which is just an Express app. And we say import Express, we create a new Express app, and we have our routes, which this is the, I guess, homepage. And we're listening on port 3001. So if I start this up npm run dev. We should be up and running, and I'll open up Postman and do a new request, and we'll say HTTP localhost 3001, and we should get this JSON response. So we do. Very nice. So what happens when we need a database with this thing? Let's use Prisma to connect to that Postgres database. We're going to go back over here to VS Code, and what we can do here is clear that out. We'll say npx Prisma init. And what that does for us is it creates this new Prisma folder. I hope that's large enough. And if we go into this Prisma folder, we have, hey, data source is DB and generator client. So basically it says, hey, this is the database we're going to connect to. Go ahead and build out your database now. So in this file, we can go ahead and build out something like a model user. And let's say we needed an ID on there. We could say this ID is going to be a string. And notice how we get this nice IntelliSense to say, hey, do you want a string? Do you want a string which is optional? So that means it can be nullable. Or do you want a string that can be an array? For this, we'll say we want a string. We want this to be an ID. So Prisma is really cool because it lets you define your database with like nice IntelliSense all from your schema.prisma file. So you don't have to like go and fuddle around with like actual SQL statements. So I'll say ID here, and then we're going to say default is going to be UID. And then what else would we have on a user model? Anybody want to throw stuff out?
A name.
That's a good one. So we'll do name, and we'll say string, and that's cool right there.
Can we have a date of birth? I want to see a different data type.
Oh, okay. BOB, and I think it's date time. Yeah. So
Nice.
also, if you wanted to activate IntelliSense here, you can do Control Spacebar, and you can get all of the
nice.
different types that you have.
Nice.
So really easy way to just define databases. You can even do, if I had a model, and let's say, give me another model type that a user would have.
Post. Blog post.
Blog post. ID string at ID. We'll do default CUID. And then here, let's say we would have on this, the owner of this would be a user. And we would have user right here. And this would be, let's double check on this. This would point to a relation to that user. Actually, I think if I save this, yeah, so as soon as I saved it, Prisma says, oh, you probably want this to point to this model. So it'll actually create the relationship for us. So it says, hey,
Nice.
this person will have posts, which is an array, and we'll rename that to posts. It creates the ID and the relation there. So really cool, right? Yeah. So I'll click save, and then what we can do is we have this defined in our schema already, but we need this up in our database. So you can go here, clear that out. You can do npx Prisma migrate, migrate dev. And what this will do is actually look at this schema.prisma file. It'll generate some migrations files for us. Come on over. All data will be lost, I think, because of my testing. So it'll say, look, there's no migrations. Let's just clear everything out and start from scratch. It'll say, what's a name for this migration? I'll say init. Okay, so now our database is now in sync with our schema. So if we go over here and go to our migrations file, this is this first migration we created, and we open this up. This is the SQL that is generated from our original migration.
Awesome.
It even does foreign keys as well.
That's
Cool.
great.
Yeah. So that's step one, right? Step two is they actually provide a tool called NPX Prisma Studio, where this will load up in your browser your entire database. So you can click on the user model and see this whole thing right here.
That's great. Oh, that's so nice.
And it'll show your relationships, which is really cool. And you can add and remove from here. So database tools for the studio. And then also the other cool thing about this is once we go into our server.ts, we can use everything we just created. So we can say right here, let's go grab Prisma, imports. I don't have my snippets either. Oh my gosh. Prisma client from @Prisma client. And then we'll create const Prisma is equal to new Prisma client. What's cool here is we can go down here and say const users is equal to Prisma dot. And notice how Prisma said, oh, you have these two models, post and user. Maybe you want one of those. So let's say we want the users. And then you press dot. And then it goes, here are all of the operations you can create to interact with that database. So there's find many, find first, delete, pretty much all the CRUD things you'd want. So find many gets all of them. And we could even do relationships and say include. We can say posts. So we get all of this nice IntelliSense right out of the gate there. And then we could res.json our users that we get back. So just all this IntelliSense, really cool. And then you could even go further and do like an app.post for creating, app.patch for updating, app.delete. So you can essentially create a whole API with Prisma user find many, Prisma user create, Prisma user update, and all those right out of the gate. So if we delete these, and the last thing I'll do for this demo is kind of just show you this part in our browser, or in Postman at least. So if we go over here, let's create somebody, add a record. We'll say UID is created. We'll say, let's go for Kim. Date of birth. Kim, you're from 1970. I don't want to. And then we save. There we go. And then if we go and restart our server over here, let's create a new one. npm run dev.
Oh, it's so nice to use that user interface to input test data as opposed to like doing it from the command line and having to format everything.
Yeah. So I don't know why it's not showing up, but let's, I don't know.
Does Prisma need to be told that it has an environment file?
No. So Schema Prisma up here actually automatically knows just off of that.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. I mean, this should work. Come on down. Did I not click save over here? All right. Well, that's our demo.
You see live demos.
Yeah, I don't know what happened here, but
someone in the chat says missing an await.
Oh, you're right. You're totally right. Thank you for
You
that.
must send back a promise for us.
Yes. So let's do an async here. So now we have to await right here. Thank you, Shreyas.
Server needs to
and
restart.
I've run into this thing where I have to restart. I think I should have used nodemon instead of like ts node dev, but fingers crossed. Last one.
Yeah. Yay! Woohoo! Yay!
All right. Thanks, Shreya. Yeah, so Prisma, you can do this from a Node API. You can do this from serverless functions, which I think is really interesting. But really, really great way to connect and use your database. So that's the Lightning tutorial.
Thanks,
Oh,
Chris.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Prisma's really cool. I want to play around with it more. Just haven't had the time.
Story of our life, right?
Yeah.
It's like I want to play with Tech X. Do I have time? No.
Yeah, that's
I'll
tough.
get to Rust in 2025.
Yeah. That's when I'll learn Vim.
Well, I need to learn Go, and I submitted a tech talk for late Q3 where I'm gonna have to write Go in front of people. So
Nice.
I feel like
Cool.
just set your hair on fire. Eventually, you'll find the bucket of water. So that's what I'm gonna do. I really want to learn Go and command line tools and Go. So thanks, Chris. That's really cool. There's so many cool front end tools that I've never heard of half this stuff. And I'm like, oh, I want to learn that. But I think Tailwind's still at the top of my list. So I have to learn Tailwind.
Things look good.
I appreciated your definition of an ORM, which is just letting like Node talk to the database. Like it's that layer in between.
Yeah, ORMs are. I think it's object relational mapper.
Yep.
I think so.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's the reason I always wind up with Django, because there's a third party like independent one in Python called SQL Alchemy that I'm not a big fan of. Personally, like it's not bad. I just don't like the way it does things, and I've used the Django one, and I like the Django one. That's why I write Django apps. So, great. Thank you for the tutorial, and now we're going to move on to our final segment of the day. What's on your mind? We normally have our other segment here, but we started with the interview, so that's where this would have gone. So today, we're just getting to the end and going to what's on your mind. So, as always, we start with I've got to come up with better analogies. We start off with the person who takes all of the Hacktoberfest fun and makes it a reality. Matt.
I think that's a bit much. Like, there's a whole team that's dedicated to Hacktoberfest.
Yes, but you answer on Twitter.
That's true. So I had written actually in our notes, I put down one that was on Hacker News like 2 days ago. If you search like HTML editor in Google, all the top results are seemingly part of an SEO scam. If you start editing content in them, they silently inject backlinks into your content, which is really interesting. But I don't know. I was going to talk about more, but actually something more on my mind has come up since that from today. And this is an open question and ask to anyone in chat. If you've worked with Next.js and you know a significant amount about its build system, and you know how to control the concurrency of Next.js static builds, please DM me on Twitter. Because I am really struggling with figuring out how to control how Next actually renders pages when you're doing a static export. So yeah, that's what's in my mind. I've been trying to debug this all day.
Wow.
I feel like we're going to have a source diving session after the stream.
Oh my goodness. Isn't it fun whenever a whole problem can just derail an entire day?
Yeah. But yeah, that's what's on my mind. SEO scam and Next building. And with that, I'll pass it over. Chris, what's been in your mind recently?
I guess this is like yours. I wrote it a while ago, like 3 days. And now you saw WWDC, and they had like a lot of augmented reality things. They had like the new maps, which are actually really cool, by the way. Which I have no idea how they're doing any of that. They have like little lights that show up on like plants, like down to that granular level. But I don't know, all of these things that where like you hold up your phone and you get like directions in augmented reality. I cannot wait for glasses to have all these things. We've seen hints of it for the past 10 years, 15 years. But like when that's in glasses, when it's embedded into like windows and you can like look it through things and see, I don't know, augmented reality really fun. I hope it happens sooner. But I think the groundwork is coming, or has been laying.
Yeah, like it feels like when we last tried to like really push for it, there wasn't much to do with it. And now all the stuff that we want to do with it exists, just not in that form.
Yeah.
Sorry, Chris. I took over the screen a little early.
I was like, is that augmented reality? That's cool.
Yeah, that's a horror show is what that is. I remember Google Glass. I met people that had them. I knew some people that shelled out the $1,500 to buy them, and now I feel like it would be, you're right, it would be a lot better. See, like Google Maps has that. I think they have augmented reality. I don't know. I remember seeing it. I've never used it on my phone. I thought I would, like when I was in New York, but I just never did. I want it. I want to use it. I can't wait till we can play video games in augmented reality.
Yeah, Minecraft. I've used it to use my phone, point at my desk, and put Baby Yoda on my desk.
Ooh,
That was about
I'd
it.
be into that. I do like
guess-
Baby Yoda.
I played Pokemon Go with the augmented reality for like a day until I realized it was eating my phone battery, and then I was like, it's just easier, and it's a lot easier to catch them without the augmented reality on, so I just turned it off. But that's what's going to happen, right? That's the classic gamer is like they make these beautiful games for people to be able to play competitively, and then they turn it on the lowest settings so that way the bushes don't render so you can see your opponent. So we're going to spend all this time and energy making this beautiful augmented reality stuff, and people are just going to turn it off because it's going to affect performance of their game.
Yeah.
If you take Pokemon Go to its like absolute future, though, how cool would it be to have little Pokemon running around and like you just contact and
I would cry like a little baby. Like, I would be living in the fantasy world that I wanted since I was a 7-year-old kid.
running into the streets catching Pokemon.
I get hit by a car. Like that's just like, oh nope, and he's gone. Like I hope we got that Charizard, you know. So yeah, but I'm excited for augmented reality. I think it's gonna be great.
Yeah.
Kim.
All right. Well, I pulled this up a little early, but this interactive landscape, it's the CNCF Cloud Native Interactive Landscape, has been on my mind. I've been a developer advocate at DigitalOcean for a little over a month, and one thing I have to do is sort of just keep up with the CNCF, and this landscape is really overwhelming. So I don't have anything intelligent or profound to say, but this has been on my mind.
Yeah, the CNCF landscape has always scared me.
These are all CNCF projects?
Yes.
That's a lot more than I thought there were.
Remember,
Yeah,
Kubernetes makes things simpler, right? CNCF makes things simpler.
I mean, Kubernetes is just a little box over here on the left.
Honestly, like if I had to keep track of CNCF, like I would focus on the graduated projects.
Yeah.
And maybe a few of the smaller ones, like the ones that are like really, really popular. But like, there's no way on earth anyone, like I don't even think flying the space shuttle is that complicated.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Sure.
It's a lot. So that's what's on my mind. Mason, I think you're last.
Yeah. Yeah, every time Apple does a keynote, I get closer and closer to leaving Android, mostly because my Android phone's been being really dumb, and Google broke, like in their attempt to, I guess it's, good intentions, but in their attempt to like stop their tracking data or something, or make it appear that they're not tracking me, because I know they are, like my Google Maps only gets my location when the app is open. But when I plug it into my Android Auto for my truck, it doesn't consider it open. So if I'm driving down the road and I say, navigate to a gas station, it navigates to me a gas station back home, even if I'm 300 miles away from it. And it's awful. And just it's just... Ugh.
Do you not have a setting to change that?
No, because they changed it. It's now while only open in the app, and I can't make Android Auto, and it's not technically Google Maps. The app is open. It's open through Android Auto, and it doesn't consider it that. And Google's just not fixed it. Like it's a big thing that I've seen on the internet. People are upset about it. The easiest workaround is just to go in and clear your Google Maps cache every time you want to use Google Maps in your truck.
Because that's a wonderful workaround.
Right. Totally.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Just every time Apple does something cool and they're putting out all this new stuff, and then like the security features, and like, my friends have Apple phones, and I used to be an Apple person. I switched over because I wanted to play Ingress. That's weird. Still the weirdest decision I ever made in my life. Because it was only on Google. And now that all of my music is in a third-party app, there's nothing tying me to it. So I think I'm going to switch. And I also find it hilarious that the children of today will never know the pain of having to migrate your library off of iTunes.
Mine's on a hard drive.
And the other thing that was on my mind whenever Matt brought up the weird bugs that were irking him, I had a bug a couple weeks ago when I did my Django talk where I would try to log into the Django admin on a deployed talk and it did not work. But if I changed the gunicorn command to preload everything, it worked. And I finally figured it out the other day because I was randomly generating the secret key at runtime for like the CSRF token. And what it was, when it does a preload, it basically initializes the app and then forks it. But if you don't do a preload, it just forks and then does the initialization, which means that my app was fighting between keys because there's 2 different CSRF tokens.
Is that called a collision or?
That's called a whoops. It's called a O. So I finally fixed it and it worked. So that was, I don't know. I don't know. That was the first big bug that had me like scratching my head in a while. Mm-hmm. So it was fun, but it was also completely irritating. But yes, that is what is on my mind for today. And I think we'll move on to our closing segment of upcoming events. And of course, the joke of the day. Cannot leave until you have the joke of the day.
The most important bit of the show.
It is. It really is. So upcoming events. I feel like we did. Do we have a tech talk next week? Does anyone have a tech talk next week? No one has a tech talk next week. You have a tech talk next week. What's your tech talk on?
Yes. I'm talking on Alpine.js, which is how many times do you say a new JavaScript library?
Oh no, there's another one.
But this one's cool, I promise. No, Alpine's cool. It is. I kind of feel like it's the tailwind of JavaScript, where it kind of gives you small utility things that you can like compose together. It's not anywhere as near as large as React's Svelte Vue. Mm-hmm. It's more of a utility JavaScript library.
Yeah,
but like front end framework rather than something like Lodash, which is pure utility.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Yeah, like simplifying clicks and events and stuff like that.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so that'll be next Wednesday.
Look forward to it.
Yeah.
And then we have DigitalOcean Deploy, which if I can bring up a website real quick, a screen share. Well, no, and then I go here and I click this button. I click here because I wasn't prepared, as always. There we go. DigitalOcean Deploy is coming up on June 29th. Power your business. So this is going to be a great conference that DigitalOcean is putting on. We will have a special cloud chats there with maybe even more special prizes. We don't know. We have to ask. But it's based on building your startup. So, you know, our CEO Yancey will be doing it. There will be a whole bunch of like AI powered tooling, social media marketing for organic engagement. So if you're building a small business or you've ever been curious about where to start in building your small business, DigitalOcean is the place to build it, and this conference is the place to learn about it. And who knows, there may even be some fun announcements. It's a conference. Everything could happen. Nobody knows.
Or, you know, just turn up and watch Cloud Chats.
Turn on Watch Cloud Chats, win some more stickers. We will be doing a true or false game there. So yes, register today for DigitalOcean Deploy. You have roughly 3 weeks left before it goes. So we hope to see you there. The last bit of news is we will not have a Cloud Chats next week. It's been 17 episodes straight. We're a little exhausted. We're all taking a little bit of time off. So next week there will be no Cloud Chats, but we will be returning on June 24th. So never fret. We will have stickers to give out again, and we'll have more things that are bugging us. But that is all of the upcoming events that we have. So as always, we're ready for the end of the day, which means it's joke time. Okay. Are we ready for the joke?
Ready.
Joke.
Why did the programmer quit his job?
Ooh.
Why?
Because they didn't get a raise.
Very good.
There we go.
Very good.
That's all we have today for time. We will see you not next week, on June 24th for the next edition of Cloud Chats. Have a great day, everyone.
See you in 2 weeks' time.